everyone, and welcome to another session of our 2022 Spring Webinar Series. We're really excited to be welcoming our friends from Hoki Wellness. My name is Thomas Andravis de Lima. I use him, his pronouns. I serve as the Assistant Director for Orientation and Leadership here in New Student and Family Programs. And I'm going to turn it over now to Kevin, who will introduce himself and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. So yes, I am Kevin Sutton, he, him pronouns as well. I work at Virginia Tech in the Department of Hoki Wellness, and I have the pleasure of overseeing our campus's financial wellness services. So just a little bit about our department before we get started, just to give you some bearing of the types of services we offer here. Today's session will be focused on financial wellness piece, so you'll hear more about that soon. But we also have several other services that we provide to the Virginia Tech community. We have a recovery community that supports students in any type of recovery to support them as they navigate the college experience. You'll see this coffee bike around campus. So it's always a lot of fun, get some free coffee, conversation. It's really a fun time. We also oversee several mental health initiatives. There's workshops on developing resiliency, self-care practices, mindful journaling. So really focusing on your mental health. We have your physical health, so workshops and consultations related to nutrition, sleep, body image, tobacco cessation, safe sex education. So, just a lot of information on those types of physical health topics, as well as alcohol and substance use education. So we know that is part of the college experience for some students, so we want to make sure that we're providing education on that as well. Their most popular program is called the 21st Birthday Project. So something that is somewhat unique to Virginia Tech. Very few institutions do this. Students, when they are turning 21, they can meet with someone to talk about some harm reduction strategies if they choose to drink, and they get a coupon booklet that they can use for local businesses in town, so they can save some money. I think they get like reduced price for things of pizza and some other financial coupons. So that's just something that's really cool about Virginia Tech as well that our department oversees. So when I say that I work on financial wellness, it's always good to start out with the definition. So we're going to define it today as the ability to use one's knowledge and skills to manage their financial resources effectively for a lifetime of financial well-being. So while you're a student here at Virginia Tech, whether you're going to be an undergraduate, maybe you want to stick around to be a graduate student, maybe you want to even work here one day, the financial wellness resources serve all of those populations. We are going to talk primarily about budgeting today because we know that is something that is a really big transition as people are coming to college. Maybe this is the first time you'll have financial freedom to be able to make your own decisions on how much you're going to spend at the grocery store or eat out. So this is intended to give you some baseline recommendations to make that transition not so daunting. But the thought with this is that then you can also use these skills on budgeting throughout your time at Virginia Tech and then even moving forward into the future. Throughout your time at Virginia Tech, you're going to see a lot more of me. We do workshops every single week on the topics of budgeting, credit scores, and student loan repayment, as well as one-on-one conversations with students. So you can schedule an appointment to talk to another student about your financial situation and kind of walk you through steps such as pulling your credit report or making a budget sheet. So just know that you have a web of support here for your financial well-being. So when we're starting out today, thinking about your money management, well, at its simplest, as long as you're spending less than you're earning, you're doing okay, generally speaking. So you're not running a deficit or spending more than you're earning, where you're depleting your checking account every single day. However, what this is missing is kind of that long-term view. So to really make sure that you're managing money to the best of your ability, we recommend creating a budget, which is a financial outline of estimated earnings and expenses for a specific period of time. I like to emphasize that it's for a specific period of time. So while today I'm going to refer to it as like a monthly budget, this can also be for a semester. So if you're planning on coming in and maybe you're planning on borrowing student loans to fund your education, if you make this budget to see, well, how much do I actually need for the whole semester or for the whole academic year? That can give you an accurate idea of what those expenses are. And you might even be able to reduce your student loan debt, even if it's only by a couple $100. Or even just $100 or $50, however much you can reduce it. you make a budget, you can be informed about the decisions you're making, and ideally would reduce your stress as well. You can keep your budget on a sheet of paper, in Excel. We see a lot of students schedule appointments with us with their Excel sheets already made, and they have all the formulas in there. And we also meet people that are just starting out and they're like, this is the first time I've ever had to make a budget before. So wherever you're at, we can always support you there. You can also use an app on your phone. Some popular ones are You Need a Budget, YNAB, Mint or Intuit, Every Dollar. This is not an endorsement, just some options that are out there. And also some people just keep it in the note section of their phone, not even anything super formal, just, they write down what their grocery budget is, their eating out budget, their recreation activities, whatever they're spending money on. They just keep a catalog of it in the note section of their phone. And that makes a lot of sense for some people, right? Because let's say that you are keeping it on a sheet of paper and you think that's going to be what works for you. And it does for some people. You go to the grocery store, you get the receipt, and then you accidentally throw the receipt away. Or you don't look at your credit card statement and write down the charge, right? If you keep it in the note section of your phone, it makes it super easy to just normalize seeing how much you're spending. So just keep a note of it. One of the things that you can try to do over this next week is just track your expenses. Make note, okay, what did I buy today? What did I buy tomorrow? And just keep track of that for a week. You're going to find that your spending will naturally change in 3 situations in your life. When you're around different people, when you're in a new location, and when you're feeling different emotions, so happy, sad, etc. Coming to college is all 3 of those mixed up into one big bundle. So you're going to know, if you look at your spending now over the summer, whenever you're watching this video, and you map it out for a week, it might look very different once you get here. And that's okay. And that's natural and to be expected. But the most important thing is you need to be mindful and watching what your expenses are. That way you can make informed decisions on any changes that you may want to make moving forward. And when we're thinking about budgeting, a lot of the time we boil it down to knowing the difference between your wants and your needs. So, thinking about what this means, some wants might be, and Thomas, feel free to throw any out there as well. But maybe it's like going to Target shopping spree, right? That might be a want that somebody has. Thomas, do you have any wants to come to mind for you?
Maybe new clothes.
New clothes, right? Yeah, I'm going to put clothing as a need. Just in general, you do need some type of clothing to participate in most activities. But once you already have clothes, maybe you don't need to buy new clothes every day or every week or every month, right? Yeah. Maybe on that same note, you need groceries like food. That would be a need, and maybe eating out is a want in some levels. One of the things that I always want to ask, and our viewers at home can also make this decision for themselves, where do you think a phone should end up, or a car, right? And I ask this because it might be different for different people. Maybe that car is a need for somebody. Maybe you're not living right on campus. Maybe you live in maybe Radford or Christiansburg, a little further away, and you need that car to get to campus, right? Whereas maybe if you live on campus and you don't have a car because you're walking distance to class, or you might be able to get by without a car. So that car might move more as a want to you. Having a phone is always a good example for you to think to yourself. Do you need a phone, right? Would a flip phone suffice for what you need it for if you're really just using it to call home or to call, in case of an emergency? Or do you need the ability to check your email on it in this day and age, right? What are the features that make something a want or a need? I ask these questions because it's not always as cut and dry as people might make them seem to be, right? Knowing the difference between your wants and needs is not a black and white situation. There's some gray area, and it's based on your individual circumstances. And because of that, when we're looking at your budget, you're looking at your budget and your friend's budget, or whatever, your wants and needs might be different from one another. So just be mindful of that, and you want your budget to be reflective of your needs. I'm not going to go super far in depth with this, but in the field of psychology, there's a very common concept called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And basically what this attempts to explain is that any action you take as a human is intended to meet some type of need that you have. So at the most basic needs here, we have air, water, food, so those groceries. Maybe eating out is also meeting that need for food, right? Safety needs, so maybe that phone is meeting that safety need of being able to call 911 in case of an emergency. Love and belonging, so having meaningful relationships with others. So maybe that phone is also helping you stay in contact with your friends or your family. So the same item can be meeting multiple needs. And I like to mention that because when you're looking at your budget sheet, you can just ask yourself the question, why am I spending money in this way? What needs am I meeting with each expense? And they're all needs. So love and belonging, that's a need that you have. You have to have some type of interaction with other people to develop that friendship, intimacy, a sense of connection. So I don't want you to think of this as, oh, well, I don't need to spend time with my friends. I can cut that out of my budget sheet. I'm here to study. I don't need to do anything else. You are going to want to be participating in campus activities and meeting other people, finding common interests. Even if you are someone that might be more inclined to play video games at home, finding a community and being connected is very important. And sometimes there's an expense with that. And it's okay to spend money on these things. The only thing you want to keep in mind is that going to be a sustainable decision, right? So if you're eating out for dinner every single week, every single day of the week, that might not be sustainable given your bank balances or income. So while love and belonging is a need, it's not a justification to say, oh, yeah, spend whatever I want on it. And it's going to look different depending on where your money is coming from. So the two ways I would categorize this is, are you spending using an income that you have? So maybe you have a job, or maybe you have an agreement with your family that maybe they put some money in your account on a regular basis, whatever that is for you. You're going to want to make sure that you're thinking about your budget by saying, okay, what is my income and what are my expenses? Is it possible for my expenses to be less than my income each month? If my expenses are greater than my income, then it turns into thinking about, okay, well, how long is my money that I already have saved going to last me, right? If you have $300 saved and you're spending $50 more than you're making every month, you know that you can live in that lifestyle for about 6 months, right? So you spend $50 more per month for 6 months, and then you'd run out of money. Depending on your situation, you might be okay with that, right? Maybe running a deficit isn't always the worst thing as possible. However, if it's something in your realm of control, thinking about how you're going to adjust your behavior to make sure you're spending less money, to make sure that your expenses are lower than your income, is a great skill to develop while you're in college that will be super helpful later on in life. Thinking about even when you're in college, you might be moving off campus at some point. You might have to manage bills and payments and rent and all of these other things. So the more that you can focus on developing these positive habits now, the better. If you're using a refund, and I call it a refund in quotes there because this is what they call when you have a student loan or other financial aid that pays off your bill to Virginia Tech, and then you get a portion of it back to use on those day-to-day expenses like food. They call it a refund. And my only qualm with that is that if you're using a student loan, that's money you have to pay back. And I think refund sometimes makes it seem like it's like free money or extra money. So just knowing that if you are using a refund generated from a student loan, that's an even better reason to be more mindful of what your expenses are. The more you can be proactive and reducing your loan debt now, the easier it's going to be to pay your loans off later. And it's easier to reduce your loans by $500 before they even pay into Virginia Tech because you've made your budget and you know how much you need, than it is to get that $500 and then have to hand it back. It's a much more challenging thing to do. So before you even get that money, that's really where we really want to make sure that you're making that budget before you even get here. However, once you are here, and maybe you're exploring, maybe you're getting a credit card and using money through the credit card company. If you are not having an income, you want to be very, very careful when you're using your credit card to pay for purchases, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're running out of your bank money and then you have a balance on your credit card that you can't pay off. So just be very, very careful if that is how you're going to choose to manage your money here. And I'm not anti-credit card by any means. I work every day with students, helping them learn how to build their credit score. But just know that there is some level of risk if this is your first time having some financial freedom. You want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up to have some consequences years down the line. So I just want to at least mention that. And I'm happy to have a conversation later on that as well. One of the things that's really great to do as you're in college or as you're planning to come into college is start establishing an emergency fund. Typically, people keep their emergency fund in a savings account because you want it somewhere where you can get to it quickly if something is needed, but not money that you're going to be tempted to use on day-to-day expenses. And I have 3 benchmarks listed here, and some of them you might have heard elsewhere, but like the 3 months expenses is usually where a lot of financial experts start. I like to back that up a little bit and first have you all identify a comfort number. So what this number is when you look at your bank account and you see X number of dollars and your balance is under that, that number stresses you out. So for me, if it was $500 and I look at my bank account and I have $300 in it, and I immediately feel stressed because of the financial situation, that is an indicator to me that, hey, I feel more comfortable if I had $500 in this account. So what can I do now? Can I cut out, whatever frequent expense you have one time per week in order to save more money to get up to that comfort number? What you don't want to have happen is your financial stress being always on your mind. And it is more likely to be the case if you feel that your bank balance is not where you want it to be. So even if you are doing fun activities with friends, you might have the back of your head feeling guilty about the financial expense of that. So getting to that comfort number helps you enjoy your time more, it helps you focus more on your academics, it makes you less likely to be losing sleep due to financial stress. So I cannot stress how important it is to know what that number is for yourself and to prioritize keeping that balance there. As a good goal to have, you don't have to reach this, definitely not in your first year, maybe not even by the time you graduate, but something to work towards is knowing how much it costs for you to live 1 month and to have 3 months worth of that money saved. This is really helpful because then let's look at the summer months, for example. Maybe you're working during the semester, but you're not working over the summer. If you have 3 months of your expenses saved up, you can continue living the way you'd like to live for those 3 months over the summer. You can still eat out just as often as you're used to eating out. You can still do the activities you like to do because you already have those expenses saved up. And I know that your income situation and your expenses might look different over the summer anyway. But just thinking about this through, what lifestyle am I able to have? Many times people view budgeting as limiting and saying, well, what do I need to cut out? But I view it more as this is how I can enjoy my life, and I can do this in a sustainable way. It's a plan that you can help yourself stick to so you can have all the fun memories that you'd like to have. And a long-term goal would be to have 6 months income saved up. This is something that most people don't reach until they're in mid to late career. I just like to give you that long-term goal where you can see all these different target points. Most often, if you have 6 months income already saved in a savings account, there's other things you could be doing with your money. So I don't really recommend saving beyond that. But it's just a good goal to have in mind, looking at the big picture. When it does come to your student loans, and I know I've mentioned it before, but it's only because this is very, very important. Only borrow what you need. So as we see here, there's an image of a person not looking too happy with a big backpack that says debt. They're holding a sheet of paper that says student loans in the thinker position, if you're familiar with that statue. So it doesn't look too happy, and that big backpack of debt is really weighing them down. If you do have to borrow loans, know that it is an investment. Just like any other loan you take is an investment in something. You get a loan for a house, which is called a mortgage. That's an investment in the property. A loan for your car, that's an investment in that vehicle. Your student loans are an investment as well. So while I know it can be really stressful if you are a loan borrower and that stress is warranted, know that you're making an investment in yourself. And taking out loans is normalized. So many, many, many college students are in the situation where they have to borrow some form of loan for their education. The most important thing to do, though, is make sure that you actually graduate if you're going to take on student loans. Looking at the big picture, if you're borrowing student loans and you have, maybe you don't finish your degree program, you still have to pay those loans back. So if you're going to borrow loans and in the hopes of maybe getting a job that requires a degree or whatever your plans are, make sure you have a plan to pay that off. We're not going to go way in depth on the loan piece because while it is important, we do have another office, the financial aid office, the Office of University Scholarships and Financial Aid, to answer some of your initial questions about what do I need to do for my loans to pay into Virginia Tech? How do I do entrance counseling? All of those types of questions. But for today's purpose, I'm just going to give a brief description between delineation between the federal student loans and private student loans. So when you file the FAFSA, which is your free application for federal student aid, and you put some of your income information in there, you're offered federal student loans, which can either be subsidized or unsubsidized. Unsubsidized loans will have interest accumulating on them every day you're in school. Current unsubsidized loans, that's pushed back for a few months, so that's not accumulating right now, but by next academic school year, that will be the case. There will be interest accumulating on any unsubsidized loans you do accept. And private loans would be loans through a private lender, so not the federal government like Sallie Mae, or there's a lot of other loan lenders out there. I just want to make a quick plug. If you're in this situation where you're still figuring out how much you need to borrow, or you're looking to get a private loan or a federal student loan, the Virginia Tech FinAid, FINAID, so FinAid website has resources for you. So you don't feel like you're stranded there. I just want to make that plug because this might be the point in time where you're starting to think about filing the FAFSA, getting those loans, etc. When you do have loans, some students do choose to make payments while they're in school, and that is something that my office can help them with. We really do recommend making that budget first and make sure that even though they might want to put all their money towards their student loans, we want to make sure that they're still able to afford food, now too. So it's not about putting every dollar towards the student loans. However, it can reduce people's stress if they have an income and they're able to make even a small dent. We help them find a realistic amount for that to be. If you are going to make payments on student loans, particularly if you are borrowing private loans that require a payment while you're in school, uncommon that would happen, but just in case it is, you want to make sure that if you have money that you're paying above the minimum, put all of that money towards one loan. People have a natural tendency to say, well, I have 3 loans and I have $30. I'm going to put $10 extra on each loan. You would really want to put all $30 on one loan. Our office can help you kind of talk about what strategies you'd want to use for that. But if you are in a situation where you might already have some debt or you multiple lines of debt, that's a good takeaway that you can start implementing now. It'll help reduce your stress and save you more money over time in most cases, depending on which loan you're paying off first. You have lots of different options if you do borrow federal student loans. So we're not going to go in them in any depth today, but just know that when some people are comparing the loans from the federal government and private loans, maybe the private loans required like a parent or guardian cosigner. They might have even a smaller interest rate. Also be sure you're weighing the repayment plans as well. With the federal government, you do have a lot of flexibility in switching between repayment plans over the period of paying back your loan, just typically 10 years for the standard and graduated repayment plans. Although your student loan payment can last up to 25 years if you have a plan based on your income, which is what IBR stands for there, so income-based repayment. Our office does help students understand all the different repayment plan options for them. So we see a lot of seniors. So it's not something you have to have all decided right now, but you should know what it means when you are accepting that loan and you're comparing loan offers. It's a big decision to make. And we're just here to make sure that you feel supported in whatever path you choose. I'm going to briefly touch on credit today because this is something that a lot of students are very interested in. Some people even get a credit card just because they're coming to college with the sole purpose of using it to build their credit score. So again, I'm not going to go, all the ins and outs of this, but I do want to at least give you all an overview so you can be prepared. The biggest part of your FICO credit score, so FICO is the most common credit score that's out there, stands for the Fair Isaacs Corporation. So it is a company that creates the algorithm that is used to give you your credit score based on your history as a borrower. And it looks good for you if you are paying your minimum payments on time. If you're making every payment on time, that is the biggest part of your score. So if nothing else, make sure that you're aware of when your credit card payment is due and that you're always paying it. Setting up auto pay, if available, is a great way to do this. The amounts owed portion of your score is measuring how likely you are to pay someone back because of how much debt you already owe elsewhere. So if I already owed Thomas $1,000 and then I asked you for $1,000, you might say, well, Kevin, I don't know if you can pay me back because you already owe Thomas money, right? So the more money I owe other people, the less credit score I have there. If you owe only a little bit of money, that looks good for you. So it's really helpful to keep your credit card balances low. Typically, if you want to have a good credit score at any given time, you want your balance to be under 1/3 of your credit limit. So let's say you're coming in with a $500 credit card. At all times, you would want to make sure the balance on it is less than 150 if you really are getting that credit card to boost your credit score. And by doing so, that means you can pay off throughout the month. You don't have to always say, well, if it's over $150, I can't get it. You can make a payment throughout the month to make sure that balance is always low and then pay it off in full before it's due. Any amount that you don't pay off will carry over to the next month and will accumulate interest that you have to pay back as well. So it's really, really important for your credit score and for your financial health to make sure that you are paying those credit cards off in full. And you'll see here, making your payment on time and keeping your balances low, that is over half of your credit score right there. So if you're going to focus on anything, focus on those two things. But just to be thorough, the other areas of your credit score, length of credit history, there's not much you can do about that one because it just naturally goes up over time. Sometimes people do get a credit card now, even if they don't really use it that much, just to have that initial date of building their credit history. Your first few years, you're probably not going to see a huge dent, but year 7, 8, 9, 10, that's when you'll see that part of your score really begin to bolster. The last two here, so new credit and credit mix. New credit is looking at how often are you asking people for money? How often are you applying to credit cards or trying to get a loan for a car or whatever? The more you're asking institutions for money, the more risky you seem. So you want to wait at least a year between applying to different credit cards in most cases. So sometimes students really do want to get the best deal and they're looking at different credit card companies. But if you're applying to a different credit card every single month, that's going to hurt your score more and more each time. So just, be really mindful of that. And then having a credit mix also makes you look really good. So being able to have both a student loan and a credit card, that helps your credit score as opposed to just having one and not the other. That could also look like having a loan for a car or other types of debt. Now, that is only 10% of your score. So I am not recommending just go out and getting a loan just to build your credit score. That would not be advisable. It's just if you already happen to have a student loan and you have a credit card, you might see that your score might be a little bit higher than those that only have one of those products. And that's a very bird's eye view of your credit score. But again, we provide services that go more in depth and can help you make your own financial plan. Some steps that you can take for financial success: estimate your semester expenses by making that budget and have it through the lens of what do I want my life to look like, as opposed to how do I keep my expenses low. If you make it look like a fun time for your semester or have your needs being met, then you can see, okay, is that going to be feasible? If not, yeah, then maybe we'll need to make some cuts. But don't associate your first budget with a negative or constrained experience. Think of it more as a tool to help you have the lifestyle you'd like to have. You also want to determine how you're going to fund those day-to-day expenses. So are you going to have a job? Are you going to be using a student loan or a credit card? So kind of identifying what that's going to look like for you is really helpful. And you also have a lot of campus resources. There's activities to do in Squire. So if you wanted to spend time with people and do something fun, you can go to the student center here and not have to spend any or very little money. There's events with food on campus. So if you're looking to eat more than just what's in the dining halls, which we do have some of the best dining halls in the country, just throwing that one out there. But even then, you might want to try something new. You can look for events that are happening on campus from student organizations or different offices that have food catered. And it's a great way to meet new people, learn something new that you might not have done on your own, and you get some free food. So that's always great. The dining services office also has a dining flex guide. That's a resource for you. So for those of you that are getting a meal plan, that will have flex dollars on it. And they provide a lot of resources on helping make sure that you're spending that money in a way that's not going to run out by the end of the semester. One of the things that we see with students just coming in is that they do tend to spend a lot of money on food right out of the gate. And I think it's because there are so many food options. It's a great way to meet people, going out to eat together. So that flex use guide can really be helpful when you're tracking and saying, okay, what's my balance look like now? Am I on track for the end of the semester, for the end of the year? So just use the resources that are available for you. And then save for emergencies, upcoming expenses. If you know when you're going to be coming home during the semester, maybe you're coming home in November and December, maybe a weekend trip at the end of October, who knows what your plans are. Start budgeting for that now. See how much you can save and set that target goal for yourself. Is it to afford a bus ticket home or gas to get home or whatever? It's a good way to practice budgeting. And I know I also keep mentioning this, but you want to also make sure that you're planning for fun. Some things that are fun do cost money, and you want to make sure that it's not coming up as an unexpected expense for you every time. The more proactive you can be, the better. If you are interested in more, I'm leaving my contact email up here right now. My name is Kevin Sutton. My email is suttonkl@vt.edu. Well, once you're a student here, we can schedule financial coaching appointments where you can talk about basically any type of personal finance topic you want. If you want me to go more in depth into something I touched on here today, that's great. If you just have a general question, I can do my best to answer. I may not have the answer, but who knows, maybe I'll do my best. You can also attend workshops on different financial topics throughout the semester. So today was really like a very surface level overview. But let's say you are a student loan borrower. We have education workshops on that every single week of the semester at different days and times. So if you want education, we have that in addition to the one-on-one interactions. We also have modules in Canvas, which is where your courses will be, an online learning management system for your courses. You're automatically going to be put into a course called Money Smarts once you get here. And that's just a repository of information that you'll have available to you as a student. So you can pick, there's modules specific to students in their first year of college. There's modules for every year of college, second, third, final. There's modules for international students, student athletes. You can also go by modules by topic. So if you want to learn more about credit and you want to learn at your own pace, there's modules for that too. So you just have access to all this information. So you can learn on your own pace. And as you're getting involved on campus, we really encourage you to keep us in mind and invite us to present to groups you're involved in. You might join some clubs when you first get here. And I'm not expecting you to remember, I'm recording this in April. So I'm not saying, oh yeah, I remember that guy from over the summer. But just thinking about ways to collaborate and a way to think about your finances in fun ways. And we're just here as a resource for you. And then that's all I have for you today. Again, my email is on that last slide. If you have other orientation related questions, there's the orientation@vt.edu email and their office location right there. Thank you everyone for your time today.